Hello there and welcome to this special edition of Granny's Garden. This week my channel reached a new milestone, 1,000 subscribers, and it's all thanks to you out there. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart that you accompany me every single week here in my garden and accompany me to pull down trees, to dig up shrubs, even to plant some plants, and even finding hidden patios along the way. So I thought, as something special, you all know I live in the mountains and this is the scenery that feeds my soul. So I wanted to come with me outside my garden and see the little village where I live and this magnificent scenery, the reason I fell in love with Spain. So let's go for a walk in the wild side. This is the town square in the little mountain village where I live, with our town hall, and right on the top of the clock tower is a stork's nest. Behind the square is a little stone church, so typical of the local mountain architecture, and of course, on the top of the bell tower, another stork's nest. Even derelict buildings make good nesting sites, although this stork is taking objection to the pigeons who are stealing his nesting materials. But what makes this place so special is the scenery and open countryside, the mist hanging over the mountains in the morning and the ever-changing skies. This is not the Spain of packed beaches and cheap beer. This is the Spain that I fell in love with, that welcomed me with open arms and that I now call home. In spring, the mountains come to life. The yellow Spanish broom grows alongside the purple Spanish lavender, a perfect colour combination. Bright pops of yellow broom burst out from among the spiky grey-green leaves of the forest oaks. The forest oaks are already preparing to flower, flowers which in turn will turn into acorns, not unlike the English oak ones. In autumn, wild boars will feast on this bounty. Right beside this group stands a young juniper tree, which flowered earlier on this year, and whose fruit is now swelling. This is an area of natural spring water, and in spring and autumn, when the rains come, the water table rises, and these springs burst from the earth, offering frogs a place to mate and produce the next generation before the summer sun dries them up. The buds on the cistus ladanifer, or gum cistus, are beginning to swell, and in a few weeks' time, white papery flowers will appear in such profusion that the mountainsides will be a sea of white and appear like summer snow. The track becomes narrower, and I'm surrounded on all sides by blackberry bushes pushing out their leaves, and I mentally make a note, a reminder to come back along this route in August to collect some blackberries for a bramble tart. Here fields are separated by dry stone walls, made from granite which lies in abundance on the ground, covered in lichen. The trail twists and turns, drawing you around each corner. The juniper branches encroach upon the trail, and the sun streams through the branches. Suddenly, the scenery changes. We have reached the dehesa, a Spanish word for an agricultural forest zone. Here, beef cattle and horses co-inhabit 14 million square metres with wild boars, rabbits and deers, and the occasional human. Here, the forest oaks, which have a tendency to sucker and form thickets, are kept limbed up so that both wild and domestic animals can shelter from the mountain storms or the scorching sun. The The natural springs are carrying so much water that they form streams which flow down the natural contours of the land to reach ponds and lakes, which will provide water for the animals, both domestic and wild, during the long hot summer months, long after the springs have retreated below the ground for the summer. The grass has also come alive, and daisies are poking their heads up in the minions all over the slopes, making the most of the sun pouring through the branches of a still dormant tree. The stream burbles over the granite outcroppings, bubbling over rocks and branches, hurrying on its way to the lake. Crystal clear water runs under giant granite boulders that have lain here for thousands and thousands of years. These granite outcroppings, now bathing in the morning sun, will be shaded from the hot afternoon sun by the trees, enabling a thick carpet of moss to grow over them. Underneath these rocks, rabbits have made their homes. It's always a good idea to have more than one hole door, especially when the sky is full of hawks. Even in death, these petrified branches have a beauty of their own. Through the trees, I can just make out the beginning of the lake. Here, the crowns of ancient forest oaks are reflected in the water of the lake. Little frogs leap into the water ahead of my footsteps. This area of the lake is particularly beautiful, overlooked by a head of granite boulders, topped with a crown of forest oak trees. On the ground lies the remain of what once was a majestic tree overlooking the lake. It is now resting peacefully, returning its goodness to the Mother Earth. A beautiful white mare comes over to show off her baby, which was born just 2 weeks ago. Proud mama. Here, life moves at a slower pace. Even the cows have time to look and stare before returning to grazing, with just an occasional tinkle from her bell. My mountains. The higher peaks are still covered in snow, keeping the nighttime temperatures low and forming dew on the ground. In the morning, the mist starts to rise, and it makes you feel as if you're floating among the clouds. The mountains can have extreme weather conditions, but even after the worst storms, the mountain offers you a gift in the form of a rainbow, and at the end of a hard day's work in the garden, I can sit back and watch the sun go down behind the mountains, with the promise of a new day, a new dawn, and a new beginning.